if you have a Bible in your home and you want to read a first century writing in reference to the Shroud of Turin, open up to second letter of Timothy 4:13. The cloak, not my cloak, the cloak I left with Carpus in Troas. It's a city in southern Turkey, south of Constantinople. When you come to Rome, Paul of Tarsus is in Rome, Italy. When you come to Rome, bring it with you. And the books, but especially the parchments. Again, I'm going to write the word that Paul of Tarsus wrote, which is like this. This is ancient Greek. This word is never used again in New Testament or Old Testament or any ancient scripture. It's a one-of-a-kind word used to describe a one-of-a-kind thing. It is not a traveling case. It is not a bookcase. It is not a chest. There's several different spellings for warm coat, shepherd's coat, different ways that if Paul of Tarsus was asking for a warm coat or a coat that he was going to wear, this is what he would have spelled. These are the words he would have used. But instead, he wrote this. This word is a dual feminine noun. Under ancient Greek is classified under cloak, something that covers or conceals, as in shroud, not as in garment. It also means light. It's derived from the ancient Greek word phos, which literally means light. A heavenly light, such as surrounds angels when they appear on earth. To shine, something that shines, or made manifest especially by rays. Alright, so the word that Paul of Tarsus wrote is a shroud that has to do also with heavenly light. Now the next closest word that they found in ancient scripture that does mean cloak is this word here. Note the difference between this word and this word. It's similar, but it's a different word. You can't take this word and say, well, it looks similar to this one, so we'll translate it as cloak. It is a completely different word. Bear in mind, this is approximately a 1,600 mile journey. It's quite a distance. He's asking Timothy to come all the way to Rome, Italy, to bring him a warm coat. Wrong. That is not what that word is. I've seen every word in ancient Greek for coat, warm coat, anything having to do with it. And the spelling is so vastly different that we're just not even going to go into it. And if we go into traveling case, bookcase, or chest, as it is often mistranslated, it's even worse. So let's clarify to what this word actually means. Paul of Tarsus is a highly educated Roman citizen. He knows how to spell warm coat if he was asking for a garment that you would wear. What he was referring to is a word that comes from this word, which is called a pallium, which is also what? A mort cloth, it's also known as. A pallium is also what? A mantle, as worn by Elijah. A mantle is also known as mangia. Was eventually renamed the image of Edessa and the Mandilion. And the reason that it was called this is because they're specifically saying it belongs, it's a mantle, which by definition is a long, wide band of cloth used by a high priest. By virtue of its name, it cannot be a face cloth. So get out of your head immediately that the Mandilion is some face cloth with the face image of Jesus on it. It's not. Jesus is a lion from the tribe of Judah. So this word, you could say, is the burial cloth of a lion king. Again, this word that you're looking at, That is a dual feminine noun. The spelling has been altered to include these adjectives. It's wide, long, upper, as in upper position. It's the garment of a high priest. Light bringing and light giving. Something that shines, it's illuminated. In short, the best translation of this word would be an illuminated shroud, an illuminated garment. There is a 6th century writing in Acts of Thaddeus that the Mandylion was a burial shroud, was a long garment, and it was folded twice and then fourfold. The Shroud of Turin is folded twice and then fourfold. The Emperor Constantine VII, who personally inspected the image in 944, described the Shroud of Turin, the Mandylion, the image of Edison, they're all the same thing, as extremely faint, more like a moist secretion without pigment or the painter's art. Again, the Mandylion is the Shroud of Turin, and it was originally written in 1st century like this. One of the reasons Paul of Tarsus asked Timothy to bring what is called the Turin Shroud today to Rome, Italy, was to reproduce the image and to make fresco paintings. We can conclude with 100% certainty that the Shroud of Turin, the Mandylion, was in Rome, Italy, and was used to make this fresco. It is unmistakably clear, and this is believed to be 1st century. These were found in an underground catacomb in Rome in the year 2010. Back to the Paul of Tarsus letter. Ask Timothy to bring the shroud from southern Turkey to Rome, Italy. And now we have the Shroud of Turin in Italy in the 1st century. And the pollens on the Shroud of Turin are from southern Turkey to Rome, Italy. This is hard evidence that the passage in the 2nd letter of Timothy 4:13 is in reference to the shroud. The single-mindedness of purpose of the ministry of Paul of Tarsus, above all other things, is that he has to prove that Jesus rose from the dead. And he's giving testimony to people over 1,000 miles away from Israel. He's got to have the Turin Shroud. He has to have physical evidence to show those people. Otherwise, he's reliant upon hearsay testimony. And no matter how good of a public speaker he was, how convincing he comes across, without physical evidence, and explaining to a group of 1,000 people that Jesus of Nazareth from Israel rose from the dead, the first thing that people are going to say is BS. But when they see the Turin Shroud, a 14-foot cloth with his image on it, is the equivalent of having a videotape of the resurrection in that time. It's convincing. The 58 pollen samples on the Shroud of Turin are a virtual blueprint of the missionary journeys of Paul of Tarsus. Bottom line, Paul of Tarsus had the Shroud of Turin and was the first to name it. As in all things Jesus did, there's a preceding event. In the 2nd letter of Kings 2:13, Elijah, when he was taken into heaven, his mantle was left behind, his shroud was left behind. It was the only thing. And they searched for him for 3 days, but didn't find him. Only his mantle, shroud, is left behind. Jesus of Nazareth, same deal. And the number 3 has significance. Look on the forehead of Jesus of Nazareth, on the Shroud of Turin, you see 3 written in blood. It represents the Holy Trinity. Jesus died at 3 p.m. Jesus was in the tomb for 3 days. Jonah was in the belly of the whale for 3 days. Bottom line, 2nd letter of Timothy 4:13, the cloak is the Shroud of Turin. Later called image of Edessa, Mandylion, Mandylion. Mangia, mantle, burial garment of a high priest, of a king, of Jesus of Nazareth.